So we would like to open up the questions at this time. So I'm going to hand over to Beatrice, and she will start reading your questions. So if you haven't typed your questions into the chat box yet, please do, and we'll try our best to answer them as best as we can.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Beatrice. I'm a co-founder at Telehope Speech Therapy. Thank you, Muna and Wanda, for the presentation. So I know there's a lot of parents here, and some of you entered the meeting a little bit late. So, please take this opportunity to ask our qualified speech therapists any questions you have regarding your child, so we can actually help you from this webinar. You can actually benefit from learning some useful strategies. So what you can do is please type your question into the chat box. I will read out the question, and our therapists, Muna and Wanda, will reply you and give you some suggestions or strategies on what you can do with the difficulties that you're facing. So please go ahead, don't be shy. Type out any questions you want. All right, so we've got the first question. All right. Hi, my name is Annie from Medan, Indonesia. I would like to ask how to teach a 2-year-old child who watched YouTube a lot but hasn't talked any single words in Bahasa Indonesia.
All right. Hi, Annie. So, okay, my first point would be a child that is using YouTube a lot. How much is a lot? So for children at 2 years of age, we wouldn't be expecting them to be having a lot of screen time, okay? No more than 30 minutes a day. And if it the reason why is because screen time, such as YouTube, is quite passive if there's no one, if there's not an adult facilitating that communication. So if they're looking at a screen and just watching and looking at the images, and as we know, we can be on our screens for a very long time, half an hour, and before you know it. But for our little ones, we need to be sitting with them. So you can use screen time, but firstly reduce the time, so no more than 30, well, for a 2-year-old, no more than 20 to 30 minutes a day, and sit with them. So if he's got a favourite nursery song, sit with your child and do the actions and gestures together. So if you think about the communication pyramid, one of the early foundational skills is copying copying actions and gestures. So for example, the wheels on the bus go round and round, do the gestures, right? And then if your child's not copying the gestures, do hand over hand to help. Gestures is a prerequisite to developing verbal language, okay? So if they're not using single words yet, think about, are they copying gestures? If not, help them out with physical prompts. The next thing, are they copying some play sounds? So for example, beep, beep, wow, yay, uh-oh. Are they babbling even? All of those things come first before first word users. If you're still concerned and you still have, you're still not sure, please book in a consultation, because by 2 years of age, we were expecting children to be able to understand simple 2 keyword instructions and use 2 keywords together, such as more juice, more biscuit, right? And have quite a growing vocabulary size of at least 50 single core words by 2 years of age. So do book in if you feel like it's needed.
All right, thank you, Muna. All right, so Annie, just to summarize that, so as Muna mentioned, let's try to reduce the screen time a little bit, try to engage with your child more, give your child more language stimulation. So being able to understand and being able to say the word out is different. So model the word for your child, the words that you want to teach your child, and give your child more stimulation. Thank you. Let's move on to the next question. This is from Flavia from Jakarta. All right, Fabia's asking, what is the cause of speech delay for a child? Is it only external factor?
Okay, so there are so many causes for speech and language difficulties. There's so many medical causes. So, for example, they may have a medical condition such as Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, global development delay, autism spectrum disorder, or a syndrome. Okay, a lot of these medical conditions coincide with a difficulty with speech and language, right? So that's one main cause, a medical condition or suspected medical condition. Have a chat with your pediatrician if you are suspecting a medical condition, or you want to get their opinion. In the absence of any medical conditions, environment plays a huge factor. So, for example, if a child has no interaction with any adults or other children, they're not hearing words, and they're not being spoken to on a daily basis, right? That can play a factor. Screen time. So we do have, it's very common, especially in this day and age where we have iPads and iPhones and Android phones and you know, kids more and more now are spending, you know, up to 6-7 hours a day I've had, you know, watching TV or watching an iPad. This is not going to be effective for language development, especially if a child has an underlying language disorder. So really reduce the screen time. Another factor could be family history. So if there's a family history of speech and language difficulties, it can be hereditary. And also hearing difficulties. That's one of the main reasons why children have a language disorder or late support. They may have an underlying hearing difficulty. So if you suspect a hearing issue, or if they get sick a lot, right, do refer to an audiologist who can do an upstate hearing assessment.
Right. Thank you, Muna. Okay, let's move on to the next question. This is from Oliver. So Oliver has a similar issue to Ibu Ani. So Oliver says, our boy has a speech delay and now only communicates in English. Should we push him towards Bahasa also? What approach do you suggest?
Okay, so we always advocate, you know, if your child is from a bilingual family, trilingual family, we always advocate, you know, children being exposed to language. But what we recommend, if a child does have a speech and language disorder, they need to have a strong foundation in one language. So build that foundation in the first language, whatever is the strongest first. When they have a good foundation, a good model, that will be most effective for developing a second language. Another strategy that we say maybe is like one parent, one language rule. So the parent that is strongest in English speaks English with your child, and a parent that's maybe the strongest in Bahasa, that parent speaks Bahasa with their child.
All right, thank you, Muna. Okay, let's move on to the next question. So this is back to Flavia. So Flavia is asking, is the YouTube or screen a factor to help child speech skills or not? I'm gonna take this, all right? Yeah. So back to Flavia. So basically we try to reduce screen time, but when we talk about screen time, we talk about giving the screen to the child and leaving the child to the screen alone. So when we talk about looking at YouTube or looking at a screen, what we can do is, instead of just passing your child the iPad or the handphone, engage in the screen time together. So use that as an opportunity to interact with a child, to build language, to do language stimulation. So instead of just letting a child look at a screen, you can look at the screen, the pictures together, talk about the pictures, talk about what is happening on the screen. So when you do it this way, you know, it is not bad. It's not a bad thing, because you are encouraging interaction. Same with online therapy. So a lot of parents might think, oh, online therapy is screen time. The child is looking at the screen. But actually, you know, this is a positive way, because through the screen, we actually build the language stimulation. We build the ability for the child to interact and engage. And that is what we want. We don't want to just pass the screen to the child and, you know, just let the child keep quiet and just watch the screen. So it is not actually the screen time, but how you use the screen time that makes the difference. Okay, so moving on to the next one. This is from Rika from Bali. Would you explain what kind of strategies to help speech delay in any ages of early childhood? Let's say in a simple way first. Thank you. Wanda, do you want to take this one?
Okay, so sorry, let me read the question again. Would you explain what kind of strategies to help speech delay in any ages of early childhood? So I think Muna kind of covered this just now when she was answering the earlier questions. There are different strategies to help children. So for early childhood, let's say 2-3 years old, we always do a lot of play-based stuff, right? Because at that age, they might not be as realistic to get them to sit down and do worksheets. So we try to do a lot more play-based activities. And then one way for us to develop their language is for us to do a lot more commenting. So as the adults, if the child is, say, holding a cow toy, you can say, oh, you're holding a cow. The cow goes moo, moo, and then get them to see if they can imitate this fun play sounds, like playing with the car goes beep beep, or do they copy your sounds? If you're, okay, we're talking about a speech delay and speech delay. When we talk about speech, we're referring to the pronunciation of words, certain words. And when we're talking about language, we're actually talking about what they're saying, what they're understanding. So if I'm just going to answer in early childhood based on language, that's how we get them to build their skills. So we start with getting them to imitate gestures, like what Muna said, imitate actions in play. And then we also get them to start imitating sounds. So if they're not saying proper words yet, we can just do fun sounds in play, like, oh, the dog is going down the slide, goes wee, see if they can follow wee, or, like I say, beep beep, or moo, ba, fun animal sounds, car sounds, or even if you're just playing with a car, the car goes up, up, up the wall, up, up, up. It's just really simple sounds to repeat the words over and over again to get them to understand the words before they'll finally use it. So if we remember Muna's building blocks earlier, receptive language is actually the base before expressive language. So receptive language refers to the understanding of language, and expressive language refers to the use of language. So in order to get our kids to, you want them to talk, you want them to say a lot of things, first and foremost, they need to understand enough content. They need to understand, need to have enough vocabulary in order to be able to use them. So if I teach you a whole new word in like Swedish, for example, you need to hear it many, many times from me before you can understand how to use that word and how to say it in a sentence. So in that regard, it's the same with our kids. We just do a lot more teaching through play, making it more fun, giving it more sounds, and keeping it simple. We're just commenting, not always expecting them to say anything. We don't pressure the kids, so we don't want to always make it like a test to them, like when we are playing, oh, what's this, oh, what's that, oh, what's this, what's that, which is quite common in parents because we want to know what they know, but we don't want to make interaction like an exam to the kids. We try to provide the language instead. So it's like, oh yeah, you're holding the toy car. It's a blue car. Oh, very nice. It can go beep beep. Just making it more fun so that eventually they pick up the language and use it accordingly.
Thank you, Wanda. All right, moving on to the next question. This is from Isabella. Isabella is asking, which one is better to support language for teaching children? Is it using toys and objects, or can it be mixed toy, objects, and written words? So which is the best method, or which is the more useful method for teaching children? Would you use toys, objects, or the written word?
Okay, so hi Isabella, this depends on your child's age. So babies and toddlers, they learn using objects. So objects are the easiest to understand, right? So for example, toy blocks or a toy ball, a toy car. All right, then as children get older, so from around 18 months onwards, they start to understand photos, right? And then when I say a photo, like a photograph of the real life object, such as you have a photo of a ball and a cup and a spoon, for example, and you can test your child, show them 3 photos of everyday objects and see, oh, where is the ball? And see if they can give you the photo. If they can do that consistently, then you know they understand photos, and then you can use a mixture of objects and photos with your child. And that's the same with the written word, okay? So you could show them the written word for car, ball, and block, and you say, oh, where is the car? And can they give you the written word for it? Okay, that comes much later. So if they're really, really little, objects is probably best. And as the older they get, you can do a mix of objects, photos, and the written word.
Thank you, Muna. Next one, we have Kamalita from Indonesia. All right, Kamalita says, my son Gregory is 5 years and 5 months old. He has some problems pronouncing some consonants, example, L, G, and K. So when he says look, it will sound like wook. Bag sounds like bed. Ninjago sounds like ninjado. Other than that, he is an active boy, likes to read books. Should I be worried? How can I help him pronounce these letters better?
Okay, I'll take this one. So I'll just bring our screen back. Oh, no, we can't. Okay. Muna, do you mind just bringing up the chart?
I can try, yeah.
Yeah, so your child Gregory is 5 years, 5 months. So according to the milestones that we're expecting children to acquire speech sounds, actually his inability to say the L, so the L sound is still within age appropriate limits. So typically the L sound, yeah, as you can see from the chart, we give them up to 6 years to acquire. So if she's still 5 years, 5 months and she's saying wook or yewo, it's we still count that as, yeah, it's okay, we'll give you a bit more time to get that, but the G and K should already be there. So what we don't, when we learn about speech sounds, it's not really things that they're things that come very naturally. They are not things that I have to tell you, oh, here's where your tongue needs to be, where you make the k sound or the g sound. But sometimes children can't acquire the speech sounds as naturally as other kids do. So in this scenario, this is where a speech therapist would come in really handy. So what we'll do is we'll actually teach your child how to make certain sounds, and using different tricks or tips, using visual cues, usually using verbal cues, how to get the tongue in a certain position to produce that sound. So it works the same with all other sounds that any child may have difficulties with. As speech therapists, we are trained to know which where your lips need to be, where your tongue needs to be, how your teeth should be. Is it in front, or where is everything going to make different sounds, right? Things that don't come naturally to us, like you are talking now and you don't really know, but your tongue is just moving back and forth, left and right, doing all these things to make you sound clearer. So for children who are not pronouncing the words, the letters as clearly, it might be useful to get him or her assessed by a speech therapist, so we can let you know which sounds are age appropriate, like which areas are still age appropriate, and which areas should not be there anymore and should be remediated with therapy.
Thank you, Wanda. All right, moving on to the next question. This is from February. So February says, my second child is 13 months now. She has not said papa or baba, but she says iya. I did most of the strategies already. Do you have any suggestions? Thanks.
Sorry, how old?
13 months.
13.
Yes.
Okay, so at 13 months, I wouldn't be too concerned. If your child is babbling, so ba 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 ba, da 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 da, ga 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 ga, listen out for that, a wide range of babbling sounds. If they're not babbling, model those sounds during everyday routines. So bath time, just make it fun. splash, splash, splash in the water, make those sounds. And then the tip that we gave about repeating keywords during everyday routines, right? Continue to repeat keywords. So, right, shoes on, here's your bottle, or wash. We would be expecting the first words come around 12 months. So I wouldn't be too concerned at 13 months, but do monitor, okay? If your child's still not copying, like not babbling or not using any play sounds, and after 6 months or so, you could think about maybe at that time, at about 18 months, whether a speech referral is needed or not.
Thank you, Muna. All right. Next question. We have Bing Leong. So Bing Leong is asking how to capture a 5-year-old's attention when reading a book to him.
All right. So the story stack idea. So I'll just get that back. I'll get this up for you on the screen. Sorry, I'm not. This one here. I'm not sure if you was here for this part, but having a story stack. So for example, you can see for these images here, we've got some popular children's stories. So we've got the actual physical book, and then we've got some objects, some puppets and materials that you can gather around the home to represent key things from that book. Finding out if there's a favorite cartoon that they watch, favorite characters that they watch, getting books that are related to your child's interests, and that's going to be the best way to gain their attention. And also maybe during story time, having some structure at home. So for example, a clear table with no other activities or objects on the table, but just a choice of 2 books or a choice of 2 story stacks, as you can see, and no distractions around, so that you and your child can just focus on what's in front of you. So for example, if there's other kids in the background or TV, they're not going to be focused.
Okay, thank you, Muna. All right, moving on to the next question. So Stephanie is asking, what are some milestones we should look out for as a child develops from a baby to a toddler in terms of speech and communication? For example, at what age should they be able to say simple words or answer questions?
Yeah, so baby to a toddler, what a cute age. So at around 12 months, 1 year of age, we are expecting children to understand some simple words, such as some familiar routines like, no, stop, right, eat, okay? And also, where's mama, where's papa, being able to point to familiar people. Okay, we should, as they get older, from like 18 months, we're expecting them to be copying some single words, right? And using, having about 10 single words at least in their vocabulary. By 2 years of age, we're expecting them to be able to start combining 2 keywords together, such as more juice, more, no car, or something like that. So around, simple words should be developing around those stages in order to answer questions that come slightly later, okay? The child needs to be able to understand simple 2 keyword instructions, have a core vocabulary, like a good core vocabulary size, at least 50 core words, be able to combine 2 keywords, answer simple questions like, what is that? Yeah? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Muna. All right, next question is from Nur Maisa from Medan, Indonesia. So she says she has a kid that has autism with speech delay, and now her child is 12 years old. Is it still effective to give her speech therapy? Currently, she's able to speak in simple sentences. So a 12-year-old child with autism.
So yeah, okay. So at 12 years old, there are certain very different language milestones that we are expecting them to have. So a typical 12-year-old child will be able to produce very complex sentences and, you know, tell long stories, for example. You know, through speech therapy, we can also assess. So what we first do is we do an assessment to find out where your child is standing compared to peers their age, and then we see from there where the breakdown is and how we can support them. So we actually work with children all the way up to like 15, 16, 17 years old. We can work with children of all ages to support them and make them understand that she can already speak simple sentences, but you know, we also want to continue building the understanding so that she can develop even further. So learning doesn't stop just when, you know, they're teenagers, for example. They can still continue to learn, and that's where we want to come in and help support this further development of language.
Thank you, Wanda. Yeah, so as Wanda said, it's important to know that, you know, even though she's 12, there is still potential for improvement. So don't give up on your child. Continue to give her as much language stimulation as possible. All right, moving on to the next question from Angela. So Angela says, my boy is 17 months old and he only says mama, dada most of the time. Other than that, we have to prompt him before he uses other single words like star, although it sounds more like ta. Please, without the P sound. We read a lot and he can identify pictures to words when asked. How can we help him?
Okay. Hi, Angela. So that's really good that he can identify words when you ask him and point to the correct picture. That's great that he's using some single words like mama and dada. Again, repeating the keywords and maybe repeating keywords for motivating toys and objects that he likes. So if he's got a favorite toy or favorite snack, keep modeling those keywords, okay, because he's more likely to use it. And rather than giving him, so if he's got like car, for example, is his favorite toy, rather than giving it to him, hold the object back, all right, and offer him a choice. So does he want the car or does he want bubbles, okay? So if he looks or reaches for a car, then you model the word car, okay? So you're creating an opportunity for him to request. Some of those words, for example, star, I would not be concerned at 17 months. The S blend, st, is a later developing sound, and the please is a consonant blend as well, an L blend, pl. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. If he's still not picking up any single words within the next 1 or 2 months, you should consider a speech and language therapy assessment to look at his expressive language further and just to see if there's anything else going on.
All right, thank you, Muna. So, okay, so we're going to close the chat group. We're going to answer all the questions that have already been posed in this chat group, and we're going to end off with Kamalita's question at the end. All right, so moving on to the next question. This is from Angela also. Angela's asking, do children get confused when using different languages? Should we go strictly with one language for each parent?
So this again goes back to them having a strong foundation in one language, okay? So building on and exposing them to good models in one language first, okay? If they've got a good foundation in one language, they shouldn't be getting confused in that language, for example, okay? And then that will be a good foundation to learn a second language, okay? If they've got difficulties in their first language, okay, again, it's probably a good idea to get them assessed to check whether their language skills in that first language is age appropriate or not. Okay, if they don't have strong language skills in their first language and there is a speech and language disorder, then it will make learning a second language more difficult, yes. You don't need to be so strict with one language for each parent. Again, I think it would be best in your scenario to get an assessment from a speech therapist, and they'll be best able to advise you for your setup, your arrangement based on your child's needs.
All right, thank you, Muna. All right, the next question is from Rina, and this is for Wanda. Wanda, what about the age level speech milestones? Are they categorized by phonics or alphabets? I mean, the P sound or the way they read out the P, P.
Yes, so when we look at the chart that we showed earlier, they are all actually the sounds. So when we talk about speech, it's all about speech sounds, not the alphabets. So Muna is just going back to it now. Yeah, so this is the P, M, H, N, W, B, not P, M, H, N, W, B. Yeah, because the very basic of speech production, we are connecting sounds, different sounds that is like puzzle pieces that we're putting together. Like no is the oh, no. So that's what we are looking at. So when we look at these age milestones, these are for sounds, not for alphabets.
Right. Thank you, Wanda. So just to add one more thing to that. So for example, cat is not C-A-T, it's K-at. So we look at the phonics and instead of the alphabets. So the chart that you're seeing, the speech milestones, is actually the phonics, the speech, not the alphabets. Okay, next question is from Oliver. So Oliver says, how do we go about arranging a session with Tally-Hope for our kids? All right, I'll take this one. Muna, can you bring us to the last slide with our contact information?
Yeah, I can.
All right.
Oh. Oh, there we go.
Okay, all right. So if everyone look at the screen, hold on. Yes, so Tally-Hope, we actually have a big team of international speech therapists. So all our speech therapists are qualified. They've been carefully selected to be able to provide very effective speech therapy services. And the difference is Tally-Hope is a very specialized online speech therapy platform. So we have all the speech therapy materials that we need. Our therapists have been trained on how to provide online speech therapy using our Tally-Hope platform. So if you're interested in booking a session with us, you can contact us via email at info@tallyhope.sg, or you can drop us a WhatsApp at phone number +65 8121 6691. Otherwise, you can also go to our website, www.tallyhope.sg. There is a contact us form there where you can fill up your information and we'll get in touch with you.
I think just to add, you're available on WhatsApp and Viber. So yeah, the different messaging options.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Okay, so Fabrina is asking, is there any differences between kids who can speak earlier and delay when they are grown up? So I think maybe Fabrina, oh, hold on.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Can we put that on mute?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Fabrina, am I right to say that you're asking if there's any difference with kids who can start speaking earlier and kids who have a speech delay when they grow up? You know, will there be any difference in terms of after they are grown up? Muna, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, so we do have children that are advanced for their age. So we have 2-year-olds, for example, that are using sentences, 4 or 6 word sentences. That sometimes they can develop different types of communication difficulties, such as fluency difficulties, or like you might know it as stammering, all right, because they've got too much language. They've got too many thoughts, and their language is more advanced than their motor speech skills, okay? And then they may present with things like a stammer, right? They might block words, so say please, okay? And then children that have, we use the term disorder, okay, because there's a conception that children, they're delayed or they're late talkers, they're going to catch up And the research shows that that isn't that there's a higher percentage of children, if they are not talking, right, by 2, 3, 4 years of age, and with no intervention, no speech and language therapy support, the risk is really high of them not developing language. Okay, we really, if you have concerns, or the school have concerns, just have an assessment, okay, and then a speech and language therapist will be able to tell you whether there is a disorder or not, and whether therapy is needed or not.
Thank you, Muna. And to add on to that, I think it's very important to actually not wait and see, because if you keep waiting, you're missing out the important time, the window period where children learn language. So some parents might think, oh, maybe my child is just a bit delayed, and then they continue waiting until the child is 5 or 6 years old. And actually, the child doesn't have a delay, the child has a disorder. So by 5, the child hasn't caught up yet, and that's when they decided to seek help. But actually, you know, if we stepped in earlier and told parents, actually your child has a language disorder, you know, we would be able to help earlier and to help the child catch up faster, more effectively. So, you know, definitely don't wait and see. Just have a consultation, you know, speak to our therapist, and we can advise you what is the best approach to use. Okay, so we're going on to our last question now. This is from Kamalita. So Kamalita says, thank you, Wanda. In this pandemic situation, it's not easy to go out and meet a speech therapist. Is there anything we can do as parents to help him improve his pronunciation for those consonants L, G, and K? All right. So, all right, Wanda, you want to take this one?
Yeah. Okay, so as Beatrice has mentioned, so for TeleHope, we actually perform our therapy through online, like an online platform. So you practically don't need to leave your house. We'll just be online, and we'll assess your child to see, aside from these sounds, are there any other sounds that he's not making, he's not producing, that he should already be producing at his age. Or at the same time, we can also see if these sounds are stimulable for him. So some kids, they are able to say the sounds, but you know, they just don't use it because they're not, their speech pattern, the pattern that they're using is just something so different. Like I think for your son, it sounds like he is changing it to the G is going to a bag is bed, yeah. So his G is going to a D. So what he's doing is what we call fronting. So your tongue is supposed to be at the back, but he's making it to the front. The same with the K should be a T, if I'm not wrong. So there is a process we call fronting, which he should already be eliminating at 5 years, 5 months. So one way you can try at home is to bring his awareness about where his tongue is located. It needs to be at the back. So that's how we produce the k sound. So you can try it by yourself, doing the k and g, and then comparing it to a d and a t. The 2 letter sounds are further forward, and the 2 earlier sounds, the ones that he can't make, are the sounds at the back. So in this way, you can see whether he can try to do it on his own with your examples. But if not, then it might be worth doing an assessment with a speech therapist, because then we'll have other tips and tricks about how to stimulate these sounds in your child.
Thank you, Wanda. And just to add on to that, on our TeleHope platform, we do have videos and pictures that is specially used for therapy purposes to actually teach children how to pronounce certain sounds. It might be a little bit hard for you to teach your child because it is a speech sound disorder. So there are techniques you need to learn. So what we can do as speech therapists is we can teach you how to teach your child, because it's also very hard for you. And you said that, you know, it gets him frustrated. When you try to teach him, it makes him frustrated. So we can show you the more effective techniques of how to teach him so that he won't get frustrated. Because if you keep forcing him and using the wrong methods and pushing him, he gets frustrated, he's just going to give up. And we really don't want that. We don't want children to give up on learning. And, you know, if we push him too hard, he might withdraw and he might feel self-conscious. He might not want to talk so much. So, you know, the most important thing is we have to guide the child in the right way, and that's what we're here. We're here to support you on how to guide your child in the right way. So if you're really concerned, do reach out to us to schedule a session so we can actually show you how to do it properly at home. All right, and that's all. All right, thank you everyone for attending our webinar. So if anybody still has any more questions, please feel free to drop us an email on our email address below, info@tallyhope.sg. Otherwise, you can also contact me on my handphone number, +65 8121 6691. All right, so thank you all again for your time. And yeah, thank you, Muna and Wanda, for the presentation.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.